This is the drone that I've been doing some of the disc golf chase videos with, but unfortunately I took it out today and had a little crash, and so I'm going to take it apart and kind of repair some of the things that I messed up. Mainly it's just this. My whole little flight controller VTX stack is all loose, but that's where all my wires connect and everything. So I'm just going to go ahead and disassemble it and check for loose wires, things like that. First step is going to be go ahead and pop all these propellers off, which I lost one in the crash today anyway. So let's go ahead and pop those out. So the good thing about this camera, it's got a nice little zoom on it. So I'm going to go ahead and try to zoom in on this a little bit. I don't want to get too crazy and see if that thing will auto focus up for me. You gonna do it? Not so much. There it goes, finally. It takes a minute to grab autofocus, but that's okay. So we're just going to go through first and remove all these props. Kind of beat those up a bit today too. Freestyling is fun, but I also crash a lot more when I do that kind of stuff. And since I've been doing more of the kind of chase style footage, I haven't been doing as much freestyling, so I'm going to crash it a little bit more when I get out. Here, I'm going to zoom back out a bit. So anyway, I think I'm going to try to build a purpose-built, very lightweight drone for disc chasing specifically. One of the main complaints, if you want to call it that I got about this when I was doing some of the GK stuff, and then some of the comments on the YouTube channel, talked about how the noise can be a bit irritating with these things, and I can totally understand that, especially if you're not used to it, and if you're trying to focus on something like a big money disc golf shot. These things could be a bit annoying. Totally get that. So what I'd like to do is build a build that's more similar to this size, much smaller, much quieter. Strip that guy down, get rid of the frame and everything, and then throw a naked GoPro on that, and I think I should still be able to keep up with the disc with about maybe a quarter of the noise, so that could be exciting. But that'll be for a later date. Today we're just checking this guy out and making sure she's alright. I built this specific drone out of parts, from just many spare parts that I've collected over the last couple of years. I've always really liked these T-Motor F40s, and they're old school, but man, I like them. They're smooth and they rip. Have a nice throttle response. But anyway, as you can see, now all the props are off. Pop that battery strap off. See a lot of build videos, but not a lot of tear down videos, so we're going to tear this guy down. I made a mistake when I built this, but that's such a good reason to rebuild it. So grab my little magnetic bowl here. This thing is great for collecting screws and such. And first I'm going to remove this 3D printed mount. It's just got 4 screws holding it in there. Oh yeah, check out my little vinyl sticker under here. Oh, the light's in the way a bit. But yeah, I had a vinyl cutter for a couple of weeks, no longer in my possession, but that was fun. Got to make a lot of stickers for myself. But yeah, if anybody out there in the disc golf world wants to get involved with creating a custom build specifically for chasing disc, I think that's going to be my next move. I've got a camera switcher on the way. So traditionally, you fly with one FPV camera that is pointed at about a 25 degree, well, you can point it at how many different angles you want, but I pointed at about a 20-25 degree angle up this way. Now the problem with that is when I'm trying to chase some of those disc golfers, when I want to hover behind them, my camera is pointed up. So I'm going to install another camera that points downward, so when I'm hovering flat, I can look straight down at the person below me and then hit a switch to this other camera. And that should help me be a little safer around crowds and things. I can get really close to the thrower if there's not a gallery around so much. By having a gallery the other day, I realized how critical it is for me to be able to see absolutely everything. And I did have a spotter that day to help me. My buddy Tom came out and helped me keep an eye out on everything. But yeah, having a good view is very critical. You can't see behind you. Well, I could put that camera on there backwards, I guess, but that's not my purpose with this one. Anyway, we're about to get that top plate off and be able to see down into the guts. There's that 3D print. This is a minimalistic 3D print. Ugh. It's good for chasing disc, but today when I crashed, I think I knocked the GoPro camera screen is not functioning. It's still recording, but this back LCD screen is not functional. So yeah, boom, this thing that I've recorded all of my stuff with is still recording, but the back screen doesn't come on, which is super annoying. I do have a GoPro 6 that I've shot it with as well. It's actually might have better image quality for what I'm doing. I've been reviewing some of my footage and I was surprised to find that I thought some of my stuff on the GoPro 6 looked a little bit better than some of the stuff on the 8. The color seems odd to me on the 8 for some reason. I don't know if that's just me or if anybody else has had that issue or thought. Come on, baby. There she goes. And here we are. The top plate is off. And essentially, I used nylon standoffs underneath here because I didn't put them through the sandwich plate beforehand, and my screw heads wouldn't fit through these tiny little holes, so I kind of screwed myself and did it wrong. So I want this thing to hold up a little better in crashes, and I'm going to install that second camera anyway here in a day or two. So we're just going to go ahead and rip her apart. Here comes the FPV camera. That is a Runcam Al that I've had for about 2 years probably. It's one of the oldest cameras I've had and I love it. I think I actually might have replaced the guts in this one because it doesn't seem to do the night thing, but honestly I don't know. It's in a Runcam Al case anyway. It's either a Runcam Al or a Runcam Swift, like the Rotor Riot edition I think. One of the two. Just goes to show you how important it is what parts go into your quad, because like I said, these were all mostly old used parts. So I'm going to go ahead and remove my antenna here. That just screws on. Right? Okay. That light I gotta work on. We'll get there. Okay, that's all loose. That's not what we're concerned about right now. I'm going to go ahead and sort of disassemble this. All I'm doing now is just unscrewing the little stack nylons. There's 4 of them that hold that stack together. I'm going to try to get this VTX out of here. Or video transmitter for people that are not into drones. There's all sorts of little weird, well, abbreviations for everything. VTX, transmitter. RX is receiver. But kind of like the disc numbers, it takes a while to really understand what's going on with all that stuff. But yeah, here we go. Now the transmitter's coming out. So I just unplugged the cable from the flight controller. Now I've got my little video transmitter flapping there, and then it's plugged into my antenna, which I just unplugged there. Checking that out. Everything looks okay on that. Just right off the bat. It wasn't a very bad crash. Mainly I just crushed my, or broke my nylon standoff, so I'm going to redo that and make it cleaner and nicer. Okay. So there we are with the video transmitter. That'll go on a little stack. So far too. So far, we've removed the camera and video transmitter. Essentially, that's about it. Yeah, camera goes back to the video transmitter, sends signal out of that guy to my goggles. So we're working it out here. I'm going to go ahead and try to remove this little antenna. See, I've got that mounted. Oh, I remember that was a bitch to get on there. I might end up leaving that, or maybe it wasn't. Who knows? Yeah, I'm going to leave the mount on there and just remove the antenna, because that mount is so tight. Say antenna, that's the pigtail that runs from the video transmitter to the antenna itself. Okay. Now the rest of this just kind of zip tied, well, not all of it, kind of zip tied in there. I'm going to get my snippers that I can't ever find. So we're just going to use some scissors. I've got my receiver that receives signal from my controller inside of a 3D printed Esc cover. That seems to have been working pretty good for me. And those antennas just run back. Should just pull right out, yeah. Out of those antenna mounts I made that are just zip ties and heat shrink. Boom. Anyway, oh, that one was broken. I didn't notice that. Anyway, not a big deal. Alright, that's the receiver sitting free now. Alright, cool. That's just unmounted now. I'm going to try to pull this. Yeah, I was going to try to pull off this camera mount as well, but it's pretty secure on there too. Not necessary to take off. So now I'm going to snip all these zip ties holding these ESCs on. These ESCs were a little big for this build, so I made some custom Esc covers. I say that the top of the Esc cover was already designed. I just added these little tabs that go around the arms to secure them on the arms since they were a little too big for my build. So, still snipping. Let's go ahead and snip all four of these, maybe. Okay. So now at this point we're just kind of removing everything as a chunk, I guess, if you want to say that. So once I get these motor screws out, which is another issue with this build that I need to address, you know, when you just kind of throw things together, sometimes they don't come out perfect, but we're going to try to correct some of those issues. So one of the issues I had with this is the fact that I was only able to get 2 motor screws into each motor, which I know a lot of people do that anyway, and that's okay. But I just haven't felt 100% confident with it, and it was because of these 3D mounts and 3D printed pads. At this point, I think they're just adding weight. They're not soft mounted or anything. I'm just going to lose those so I can get 4 screws in each hole. And hey, maybe reduce the weight a little bit. But really, that's just more about keeping those motors securely on there. I'm going to find the correct wrench for that. Should be that guy. Yeah, and since those 3D mounts are on there, they can press a little bit. And then so I've just been concerned about how tight I need to get those down. And also, because of those, I felt like I could not tighten them all the way down because I would end up touching the linings. Anyway, so like I said, a couple issues with this guy. But once we get those motors out, we should be able to fix that once we get the, 3D prints off there. Come on. That's off. Okay. Now we're starting to get down to where we're taking all the guts out of this thing. I believe the proper term is evisceration. So we're eviscerating this quad, removing all the guts. Sorry, I've been listening to a lot of Cannibal Corpse lately. But anyway. Here we go, 2 more left. One more. So here, after I take out this last motor, I want to check something real quick, because I noticed in the front of this frame there is quite a bit of room, and I was talking about doing that downward facing camera, so I kind of want to just see if this camera I have from one of my tiny drones will fit right into this hole. But yeah, there's the bare frame, well, with some 3D prints on it, but mostly bare, a couple of zip ties. And man, I always have flown the TBS Source 1 frames, but I got this from a buddy, and I really like this frame just as much as those. But the TBS ones, Source ones, are cheaper. And man, some people may tell you that you can feel a difference in a frame, but I can't tell a difference. Like if I was to fly this versus a Source 1 in a blind test, I don't think I could tell the difference. Someone will probably tell me that I'm wrong. Okay. Go ahead and push all these 3D prints off too while we're at it. Okay. Got all the... almost all the arm covers removed. Here we go. Last one. Really struggling with this one for some reason. There it goes. More bare frame. So, not huge. Gonna go ahead and snip those zip ties off too. Hey, we'll leave the zip ties for now. But I will show you this. And this is the inside of the drone. So basically this happens 4 times over, and it's just the motor, and inside here is the little electronic speed controller. So that happens 4 times over. So you got 4 motors and 4 electronic speed controllers. coming back to your flight controller, this is an all-in-one flight controller, so the battery comes straight into it. I've got my receiver that receives signal from my transmitter right here. And yeah, the camera plugs in and the video transmitter plugs in, and that's pretty much it. Pretty simple stuff once you start actually understanding it. It's just a bunch of little soldered connections. But yeah, I wanted to grab that little camera. And yeah, you can see this camera came off a tiny whoop, so it's off of something like this size. But it has a really wide field of view that I really like, actually, for, I mean, certain things. But I think that'd be really good to take. I'll probably remove this from the case, and I might not go straight down with it. But essentially, well, once I pop it out of the case, it should fit quite nicely in that little hole, I think. And then so I'll have a forward-facing camera, like so. Forward-facing camera, like so. And then this downward-facing camera that'll be mounted much better. But that way I can switch between the two, see down and see forward, depending on what situation I'm in. But anyway, since I was going to rip that thing down anyway, I just kind of wanted to show you guys and talk to you about my plans for the future. I want to build one that's specifically built for chasing discs. It's going to be quieter, lighter, hopefully have a naked GoPro on there, which will give me all the same quality settings, but only weigh about 30 grams. But yeah, thanks for checking it out. I'll get this thing rebuilt and get it up in the air soon. Adios.